show you all the bills that drop. When I grab my pullers box, Wednesdays when the comics drop. Whoa. I'll take you to the comic shop, where things are what I thought.
Hey guys, we are here to start the first of our coverage of specifics related to getting tips for the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. And so we'll be coming back to you as we march up to the show, talking about the specific booths, some of the most popular exclusives. Obviously, we're not going to hit every single booth there, and because half the booths at Comic-Con are going to have exclusives. But that being said, we're going to hit some of the big ones, and we're going to kind of work from where we start in terms of most difficult, and kind of work from there, and kind of how we build our plan for the show. For us, San Diego Comic-Con is a lot about the exclusives. I'm a big-time collector, and there's a lot of things that I like to get. I don't, by any means, get everything from Hasbro or Mattel or anything like that, but there are several items I like to add to the collection each year, and as you'd guess, probably they're some of the more popular ones that everybody else wants to grab as well, so they're not totally unique. So that being said, we want to start out today talking a little bit about Hasbro and some tips related to that. And so we'll use kind of a certain formula as we go through for all of the exclusive booths, and try and give you some guidance in terms of planning your trip there. So first off, to start, we want to talk about the hot items, because the hot item, if there's one hot item at a booth, that can change the line lengths obviously all by itself. Even if you're waiting for that Battlestar Galactica item, maybe it's the Star Wars item that has everybody lined up and you have to wait anyway to get to the front. That being said, with Hasbro, because it is one of the most popular booths, and because they bring so many different licenses from Marvel, Star Wars, and so on, it really doesn't have any items that are cold, for the most part this year. Not that every year. There's that Sergeant Slaughter figure from a few years ago, or My Little Pony that might be sitting around on Sunday. But this year, it looks very similar to last year, which is that it's a pretty competitive line the whole way through. There was a few of the Hiss tanks left at the end of the show and things like that, but I wouldn't plan on there being anything left on Sunday, like I'm going to say in some of the later videos, where it's like, you know what, you probably don't need to sweat the line. If you want the Gem Doll, the Pony, the Star Wars Angry Birds, definitely the Boba Fett Black Series 6-inch figure, or that Gem Doll, even though they're high price points in many of these items, they're going to be really competitive and they're going to be sold out fast. Whether it's the Deadpool core bringing the people in, or the Star Wars, they're going to be coming for different reasons, but it's kind of like Comic-Con in general. It doesn't mean that it's going to be any busier than normal. It's just going to be super ridiculous busy, as it always is. And so plan around that, and know that if you want any of these items, you're probably going to have to plan it as if you're going to go to a Hall H panel or something like that, which means you're going to have to commit a certain amount of time to dedicate to that, unless you're just going to abandon that and go to eBay or make a trade situation with friends, which is something we'll talk about later in terms of making relationships with different groups and having them help you out to find items and stuff like that. So the wheres to line up and kind of the when really suggest with Hasbro that you make it a point of emphasis on Wednesday night preview night if you can. Obviously, if you're just coming on Saturday or one day, you've got to tailor the plan as you can. But we're going to build our tips around being there the full day. So if you have any Hasbro items you want to get, that should be really your first stop. Now the problem with Wednesday night preview night, a lot of times the line is already packed by the time the first attendees get on the floor. There's a lot of bad switching and things like that. If you listen to our podcast with San Diego SDCC blog this last week, we talked a little bit about that, but a lot of vendors have kind of ringers in there that are going to be in line right away. So we've found, being one of the first people on the floor from the regular attendee line, often the line's already capped, and so we still always go there first, see if we can make it happen. That being said, Thursday, Friday, one of those mornings I would pick, and depending on what your other plans are, and really dedicate your time, you line up behind the sales pavilion. So you're going to enter like everyone else, as if you're going to line up just regular for the exhibit hall, come up the escalator, go to the back, you'll see signs. And last year, to be honest, by about 7 a.m., the line was down the stairs, backside, almost to where the Hall H was looping around. So, know what you're getting into. This is going to be a really long line. Eventually, it's going to open up, probably around 9-ish. They'll start processing people. You'll get a ticket, and they'll stamp it. And basically, this is kind of your golden ticket to eventually get in line. It's your ticket to waiting in line at this place to get a ticket to wait in another line later to purchase your items. And so there's multiple steps here, but you need that ticket first. So you'll get to the front. It'll give you your time and day, Thursday, 12 p.m., and you have to come sometime after 12. And so from that point then, you were free to wander the floor, do whatever else. Good thing for us, by getting there early, we were able to hit the floor like normal, because we were already processed through the line. I mean, we were at the back of the exhibit hall line, but we were still able to get on the floor right away at opening, because Hasbro had already processed by then. So I think from our perspective, we're going to be planning to be in the Hasbro line by 7 a.m. And is that early enough? Maybe not. And is it too late? Maybe. Everything, we just use the pass. This is kind of like the stock market or real estate or anything else. You use pass to kind of make decisions on the future. And so for us, that's probably going to be our plan, is to be there around 7 a.m., get wherever we get in line and hope for the best. Now, one thing you might say to yourself, well, why don't I wait till 8:30? I'll still get a ticket. I can just go line up and, I'll be one of the 4 o'clock people or 5 o'clock people. The problem with that is they have daily sellouts. And I shouldn't even say daily sellouts. They just have sellouts throughout the day. And what that means is when the booth runs out of stuff, which could just be happenstance that they have more in the dock in the back, but all of a sudden you might find, the helicarrier, for last year, the helicarrier was gone. And literally in the time we were standing there, items would sell out, come back in, sell out again, come back again. So sometimes it becomes a little bit of a luck of the draw as well. And so all that being said, though, the later in the day you go, the more likely things are going to be sold out and your items are going to be less likely to be there. Some tricks in terms of lining up, definitely suggest to pair up if at all possible. Not just for getting in and getting your items, but also so that you have help carrying these things. As a lot of times what happens when you do get in these lines is you end up picking multiple of things to help out friends that can't be in line, and that's awesome. But if your friends want you to pick up an extra, set of the Marvel Legends pack because they want to stay in Hall H or Ballroom 20 or something like that, they better be there to help you carry them, because the last thing you want to be is stuck in the middle of that exhibit hall floor with more stuff than you can carry. And speaking from experience, my wife and I have often had just about as much as we can possibly carry between the two of us. When you get to the Hasbro line, and hopefully with a friend or somebody that you can pair up with that you can trust, you'll sign. There'll be a piece of paper that basically has all the prices, items listed, and it'll tell you the limits. And so most of the items are going to have limits of 2, especially things like the Black Series Boba Fett. Probably the Angry Birds will be in that area. Definitely the Deadpool core. Actually, that might go around 3, the Marvel Universe set. But point being is it's not going to be just eat as much as you want. The other thing is when you're in line to be ready is there's going to be a lot of scalpers in the line that are going to ask you to buy things for them, and then they'll pay you cash outside. Now, Hasbro frowns on that. They don't want that happening. In fact, none of the vendors at Comic-Con want that happening, and they'll ask you to step off their rug to make those transactions happen. That's up to you if you want to do that. It's not to be jaded and say that everybody that does that is doing it to make profit off of you, but oftentimes that is the case. And so it's just something to be aware of whether or not you want to get involved in that and whether or not you want to do that. We always get the questions. For us, we're basically buying for ourselves and our friends. And to be honest, if we have extra left over, we'll put those on eBay or something like that. But for us, it's basically taking care of our family and friends first. Those are our first priorities in terms of what we're buying there. Line management at Hasbro is pretty strong. They bring you into kind of a confined area. Now, that being said, outside of the Hasbro area, it does kind of loop out. When we were outside for the sales pavilion part, there was definitely some people trying to jump the line, and like anything with all those people at San Diego Comic-Con, you guys have to be vigilant on your own and kind of reporting any line jumping and things like that. But Hasbro does a good job of trying to prevent that from happening. But it's a massive line, and because there's so much of it, if you go on eBay right now, just do a search for SDCC Hasbro, and you're going to find all kinds of items that are already up for sale there for huge markups. And so there's a reason for them. It's a business is going to pay for this, and so you have to be aware that if you treat it as just a fun little hobby because you want to pick up that one pony, you're going up against people who are doing this as their livelihood, that are doing this to pay for their weekend, to pay for maybe their mortgage that month. And so sometimes that's where mindsets get a little bit confused, and that's why it can be a little daunting for people that are new to the exclusive scene. But as long as you get there early, you line up, you've got a partner with you, and you just kind of plod through. Now, with the lineup, so your time will say something like noon. You can check back 11:40, 11:50, things like that. If the line is shortening, they'll often let you in. I don't suggest bugging them and stalking, but my point is if you find yourself there 15 minutes early, instead of just sitting across the way and staring over at the line and waiting, I'd go and check, because sometimes they'll just get you in, because in the end, Hasbro's just trying to move people in and out. Obviously, the employees aren't really tied up in a big ethical quandary about who should be there first or last or things like that. They just want to get people in their booth, pay, and out. Now, once you've made your way through the booth and you're at the front of the line, very, very important, something you took care of before you ever got to Comic-Con. Let your credit card company know, or your bank know, that you're going to be buying hundreds or maybe thousands of dollars of toys. And I know that's something that happened to us last year. We did not make our bank aware of what we were doing. All of a sudden, we get to the front of the Hasbro line. We were buying a lot of stuff last year. We bought almost, a couple of everything for friends and family and things like that. And we get up to the front of the line, and we had all their money in our bank account. But we get up to the front of the line, and they're like, "Okay, it's whatever, $1,500." And you're sliding that card, and the bank says, "Nah, this is kind of weird. Somebody's buying toys in the middle of San Diego at a convention center for $1,500. We're not really ready to grant this." And so now we're having to call up the company. You know how cell phone service can be in a convention center at San Diego. We're going in and out. They're holding our items there, but they're about to give them away. It was a really stressful situation that didn't need to happen if all we did is a week before Comic-Con, call somebody and give them the heads up. So make sure to do that, to take care of that before you get there. Lastly, in terms of long-term value, this is something, when you hear us talk about Mattel, we'll have some tips in terms of sometimes the long-term value. It's fine just to fly back home, never pick up your exclusive there, and go on eBay a month later, and you might even get it for a better price, and that does happen with some of these exclusives. That being said, Hasbro, it's very rare. Something like the Death Star that we paid, I think it was $150 2 years ago, now it goes for $350, $400. It hasn't dropped. Gentle Giant's another one that rarely drops, and so really looking at all of those Hasbro items that are going to be hot this year, it's very unlikely any of them are going to drop too much. If anything, it might be the Pony or the Marvel Legends, but kind of doubtful there because the Ponies have such a surge right now with the Brony Army and all of that. And the Marvel Legends is going to be some sort of exclusive packaging that you can't get anywhere else, and that's going to be super hot as well. So I wouldn't count on buying any of these items when you get home unless you're okay with just paying that marked up price. And in that case, and sometimes that's something you have to debate is say, hey, I'm going to pay $40 more, but I really only want that one item, and it's not worth all that time. And so obviously if you're getting multiple items, the math starts to kind of dictate a different way, and I know that's the case for us. So with all of the exclusive booths at San Diego Comic-Con this year, we're going to use a scale of 1 to 5 being how difficult, and so 5 being the most difficult. We're going to use the Tron Arcade figure as kind of our 1 out of 5 Tron Arcade figures. The reason why is just because even though this hasn't held as much value, it goes for about $90 now, I think it was around $50 at the time of purchase, but there's only 1,500 of these, and they were ultra difficult to get. The lineup situation was horrible. It was just a mess, and we can go into that story some other time. But point being, this is probably one of the toughest exclusives we ever got our hands on. And so out of 5 Tron Arcades, it's definitely a 5. Plan on it being very tough. Plan on you being surrounded by people who are doing this for a business, and again, they're paying their mortgage and their car payments by it. So if you don't take it a little bit serious and think of it as competing against those people, then you're going to get blown away and you're not going to get the items you want. And so kind of keep that in mind. If you're there early, take these tips into hand, write them down or put them in your smartphone. You should be good to go, get the things that you want, and get out of there in great shape. For us, in probably, I'd say 6 years, we've been really serious about the exclusives. There's only been one item we've ever missed, and that was actually last year at the Hasbro booth. A friend wanted one of those ponies, the Derpy ponies, and we just got to the front, and it was the one thing sold out. And we could have tried the next day going through the whole line again, and we said, nah, we'll just go to eBay and get it. So for us, we've been pretty successful with these strategies. But that being said, you never know what the future is going to be, and so we're kind of giving you a look into what we've done, but you never know exactly how it's going to be that year. So hope this helps you out. You can always tweet me directly at _con_fluence for more specific questions. You can email us at smarshall@theconfluencecovers.com. Hit us up at SDCC blog with comments under this video or any other way, and more than happy to help you find the way to get your items at San Diego Comic-Con. I'd keep eBay as a last resort. You can always do that in August, September, or October afterwards, but I wouldn't be thinking that way right now. All right, until next time, I guess we'll see you in line at the Hasbro.
Whoa, I'll take you to the comic shop. I'll show you all the bills I drop. When I grab my pull-list box, the Wednesdays when the comics drop. Whoa,
I'll take you to the comic shop. Boy bands are what I got. I'll keep spending all I got. Keep reading till the series stops.
I see you girl with that little purple dress on. I see you at the next Comic-Con. With your glasses on. Yeah, the glasses on.